Hi listeners, I'm Anna Kazitsky, world champion rower with 3 international degrees and now youth mentor and coach. This is the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast, where I share inspiring individual stories to empower you to achieve your goals and future life pursuits. If you enjoyed the podcast today, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Have a great day, and remember, go after what you want. Welcome to the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast. Today we have a very special guest joining us, and he is Dean Salakis. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dean.
Thanks for having me, Emma.
Awesome. And to give our audience some background, Dean is the CEO of The Party People because he loves to party. Woo! And he's also won numerous awards for his organization recently, and one important one being 2018 Retail Leader of the Year. And he is also an author for The 1,000 Ripple Effects. Okay, so we're going to get straight into it, and I would love to know, Dean, if you could think back to when you were 14 years old, what advice would you give to yourself at that time?
14 years old, that's a long time ago for me. Look, I guess, the thing is, when I was 14, I really didn't know where I was going in life, what I wanted to do. I'm not sure I would change anything. I mean, I think, I was fortunate. I guess my personality and the type of person I am, I've always been a bit of a go-getter and jumped off the deep end and see what happens. So, I definitely took plenty of risks with growing up, and, whether it was sport or career or whatever it was, I just went for what I wanted, and didn't think too much about the downside of things, and that worked out quite well for me. So, looking back then, I'll definitely tell myself, go for it, have a go. Don't worry about what might go wrong. You've got plenty of life ahead of you. So just, your life you'll find your own path, and it'll find you, whatever you want to be or where you want to go. So just have a dig and see where you end up.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's such good advice for people, especially when these days there's so much, I guess, animosity about how we sort of do things. And, there's a lot of, I guess, parents who have the participation mentality where it's like every kid needs a participation certificate because every kid needs to feel valued, versus just sort of going after it and finding out what you're good at and pursuing those things and just trying everything and, like you said, finding your own path. So I think that's really good advice to give kids.
I think fear is what holds a lot of people back, I think, you're worried about failing or worried about it not working out or not being the right path. I think that's, especially when you're 14, is probably not, shouldn't really be a big concern. I think you should be more just thinking, you know what I want to do, I'm going to do it and see where I end up. Because if it's not the right path, you'll find yourself in all sorts of directions. I mean, at 14, I thought I was going to be a marine biologist, and then a couple of years later, I thought I was going to be I was going to do marketing be a marketing person, get into marketing and advertising, and then I found myself in logistics not long after that, and then now I'm owning a business. So I mean, life goes. I don't think many people actually end up in the degree they study. I think so. I wouldn't be too concerned. It'd be interesting to know if there's real stats around that, like how many people actually go and study something and then end up in that career 20 years later. I'm not sure. There's many that do. So I think when you're young starting out, just try stuff and see where you end up, because I think you'll find your own path. And like you said, it will find you.
Yeah, definitely. And we spoke a little bit before, and it sounds like your business has really taken off in the last year. I would love to know, how did you decide on the career that you have now?
Well, that's a long story, but I guess, look, The Party People is a family business. My mum started it 30 years ago. She was a clown, and she decided to open up a little store, and that kind of grew and became the sort of the family business for a while. And I mean, she ran a really nice, successful small business. I guess I left university and I got a job as a business analyst at Woolworths, and decided that was what the career I wanted. And I did that for about 5 years. But when my parents said they wanted to retire, I mean, my brother and I just saw a real amazing opportunity for us to take over the family business and make it something bigger than what it was. I mean, at the time it was 2 employees, and I guess we probably even then could probably claim to be one of the best party stores in Australia. But we just saw so much potential on a national level to really take this thing and make it something bigger, like help people all around Australia have parties that they dream of. So we just took the opportunity and went that way. I mean, like I said, my whole life, when it came to career choices, I really didn't think about the downside. I just went for I always took, I never took the easy road. I always took the hard road and gave something a go. And when my brother said, let's take over the family business, I didn't even think twice. We literally made the decision in the afternoon. And a few months later, we'd executed all the legal stuff that was required to do that.
Definitely. So it sort of seemed like the best decision for you, kind of transitioning from what your parents had started and then you and your brother sort of went into that afterwards.
Yeah, I think like I've always had this mentality, like I just don't want to have regrets in life. I think I had that opportunity in front of me. My parents wanted to retire and they were going to sell the business. I mean, I didn't want to have the regret that, I could have made something of that, or I could have done something there. I just thought, look, I was really enjoying the job I was in at Woolworths. They really looked after me, and I was succession planning to executive leadership there. So I certainly wasn't in a job where I needed to get out. I had it all going for me, and I loved where I was, but I just didn't want to die wondering, and going, I could have made something of that, or we could have turned that family business into something special. I wanted to actually either succeed or fail, so I just had closure on whether I could do it or not. So it's funny, even like I say, failure was, look, we might fail at this, but let's give it a go anyway. It was not a fear of failure. We just said, whatever, let's just give it a go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure that throughout both your career and, your life in general, that you would have learned so many things. And, just from what you were saying, that not having a fear of failure and kind of going after things. What do you think would be your greatest lesson?
Oh, greatest lesson. Look, I think the biggest lesson we learned was when we started, to be honest, transitioning from being a small business and an entrepreneur to being a medium-sized business. Because as an entrepreneur, you can give things a go, test the waters and all that sort of stuff. But as we grew, like in the early days when we got busy, it was all right. Me and my brother would just work harder, no problem. As we got bigger, like now we've got, I think, just over 30 employees at the moment. And, if we hit a problem, me and my brother jumping in there to pick internet orders isn't going to put a dent in the problem. So, I guess that's something that, my biggest lesson I've learned is to plan and organize and be really sort of well organized in terms of the, forecasting and planning and all the different components to our business. We do a lot of strategic planning on, where in the beginning we just didn't, and we got burnt as we were growing, where we were just flying blind. And I mean, we were growing, but that was the problem. We were growing and we weren't prepared for the growth. So certainly we learned, we learned how to plan and and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's something that is something, it's hard to learn that. I don't think you really, you go to university and stuff and they talk to you about planning and all that, but you don't really know what needs to be done because everyone's situation is different. So you actually find yourself in that position.
Yeah, definitely. I think being organised for people that do have a lot going on is really important. And having spoken to, a few people that, like yourself, have been quite successful, there's so many different components that, it seems almost it wouldn't be able to work the way that it has if you weren't organised. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I believe that everyone has challenges that they face in life and that's what makes us who we are. And, I think we learn and grow from those. What would you say has been your greatest challenge?
Well, I'll probably explain. That probably was our greatest challenge, getting over that growth in the early years, I would say. Like we actually got to a point we had to turn the website off for a few months, and that cost us a few $100,000 to do that. We lost sales. So that was, a real, I guess, turning point for us in our, when I say us, I mean my brother and I, because we both run the business. But it was just a real turning point for us and a realization that we just can't keep, figuring this out on the fly. We really need to plan what we're doing. So that was the biggest challenge when we were growing so fast. We were doing 300% growth on the previous year, and, things were great because the money was flowing in, but we couldn't get the orders out the door. So, I think looking back on it, I'm glad we made the decision to turn the website off, because I think we could have buried the company if we didn't, focus on keeping the customers we had happy and stopping any new ones coming in the door.
Yeah, it sounds like a really challenging decision at the time. I'm sure, trying to toss up all the options that you had. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think we made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I think there's been heaps of learning experiences, and like you said, everyone goes through their challenges, whether it's personal or business. I think there's tons of them. There's lots of challenges that everyone has. No, I don't think anyone does it easy. Some people make it look easy, but it's never easy. A lot that goes on behind the scenes that that people just don't see, and they just see that the party people went from 2 employees to 40. Wow, they must have it all together, and they do it really easy. Well, it might look that way to the customer on the outside, but certainly we've gone through a lot of pain to get to where we are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's all. Yeah, sounds like that was a big growing point for you guys.
Yeah.
And what would you say that you're most proud of, whether it's business or personal or anything in your life?
Oh, look, that's probably an easy one, I guess. My kids. I mean, I'm really proud of my kids. I've got a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and I mean, they're still very little, but every day they're growing up, and I think that's probably the thing I'm the most proud of. Not sure if that's related to this podcast, but that's something that I really love and enjoy. Seeing my kids grow up, and it's interesting because obviously I had kids and I've got the business, and that definitely puts a whole nother. You talked about challenges. It puts a whole nother challenge in a way, and you have 2 passions then, or you've got multiple passions. You want to spend time with. I want to spend time with my wife, and I want to spend time with my kids, and I want to give the business 1,000%, and it just isn't possible. So you've got to find a way to be happy with managing it all and balancing it all.
Definitely. And yeah, I think quite a few people I speak to, their kids are something they're most proud of. I think just seeing, another life that you're caring for grow up and be, happy and healthy and successful in their own way, I think, yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share with you this idea that I have, which is that I believe from the moment that people wake up in the morning and as you go about your day, obviously empowering other people and working really hard in your business, and then also supporting your family to be the best that they can be, to the moment that you go to bed at night. I think everyone in their own way turns up with a skill set and with a certain personality. So, for example, some people might be really confident or genuine or positive, just as a few examples. What would you say that you bring when you turn up?
Look, I'm definitely a very optimistic person. That's probably one thing I bring. Definitely, obviously I'm a little bit more of an extrovert now, but, once upon a time I was a business analyst, and that was my superpower, if you like, was solving problems with spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff. So, that's probably my key strength, and I bring that to the company. So I'm always mentoring people on how we can do things more efficiently and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, perfect. It's definitely, I think, important as a leader to be optimistic and especially encourage others when, they're having good, bad or ugly days. You want to make sure that you're helping other people to become their best self.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, like I said, I'm optimistic. I mean, yeah, I'm a very upbeat person. I get up very early in the morning. I start my day. I definitely, like when I was obviously I work in the office now, so, it's a bit of a different environment at a small business. But when I was working at Woolworths, people used to comment to me all the time saying, man, I was just too upbeat too early in the morning. People hadn't had their coffee yet, and I was just too, I'd come in, I'd say hello to everyone and be really sort of chirpy, and people would be like, oh man, just too early in the morning. I need my coffee before we have a chat, So, I think that makes a difference because I mean, you know, I've always loved what I did. I love what I do at Woolies. I love what I do at the party people. So why wouldn't I be upbeat in the morning and happy to be there? And I think people feed off that. I think that makes a difference to people. I mean, we've got a lot of employees that have been with us all my senior people have been with me between 6 and 10 years. You know, and I think if the workplace wasn't as buzzing as it is for us, I don't think they would have stayed that long. They would have been bored and left a lot earlier.
Oh, definitely. And I just sort of going off what you said, recently I revisited a quote about if you enjoy what you do, then you don't work a day in your life. And I think that's perfect. And hopefully I'll get to a point where that's the case. You know, I'm still sort of working full time at the moment and running Aspire Beyond Greatness. But yeah, I guess the idea is that you love what you do so much that it becomes something you're really passionate about and you show up really excited to do it every day and making a difference.
Yeah, I heard a really good quote last week actually, and I've sort of held on to it for the last couple of weeks, which was similar to that, in that it said, you know, happiness is not the absence of adversity, it's the mastery of it. And I really like that quote because, like we talked about a few minutes ago, is that it's not, everyone has their challenges. And I think that's what, you know, that's what drives me and makes me happy to get up every morning. I'm not getting up and, you know, when I get up in the morning, I know ahead of me for the day is a whole bunch of challenges, a whole bunch of problems, a whole bunch of stuff to sort out. But that's what's fun about it. That's the excitement, that I have to get through my day and solve all these problems. And that's the fun, you know. And I mean, if you're not enjoying that, then, you're not going to want to get out of bed in the morning. And I don't think you're going to have the drive to keep going when things get really tough. You know, like another person I heard speak, a famous cyclist, I think it was Anna Mears or one of them, you know, they said, well, why is your family, you know, it runs in your family, you're all amazing cyclists, you're all gold medal winners, what's the deal? And she was like, look, when we grew up, we were just taught to love the hills. You know, I think that's another spin on it, is that, you know, if you don't enjoy the tough parts of the job and you don't enjoy the challenge that comes with what you're doing, then you're not really going to excel in it, because you're just going to drag your feet, try to do what you need to get by, and you're not really going to go the extra mile.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, as you become more successful in life, then, you know, the hills and the challenges become greater, but you become better at managing them as well. So, yeah, I think that's a really good way of looking at it.
I hope so.
Yeah. And it sounds like you are very driven and have a lot to be inspired about every day. What would you say inspires you every day?
Oh, look, I get my inspiration from a lot of different areas. I mean, you know, from my wife, you know, who works hard every day, and you know, is always been there for me no matter what. We've gone through some like everyone, we go through some tough times, and she's always there for me. And you know, that she inspires me in you know, in the way she's always trying to do the right thing by people and be the best person she can be. And that inspires me to be a better person. You know, I've got the people that work for me. I mean, like I said, people have worked for us for 6 to 10 years. You know, to me, that inspires me that they're still there sticking by us, through all the, you know, it's not always easy to come to work because we do push our people very hard and we expect a lot of them, but, they still come in every day ready to go. I mean, that inspires me as well, because, the fact that they come in and they're there working for me, you know, they're coming in to grow my business. You know, that inspires me. And, you know, these people are often, you know, I mean, they're better at their jobs than I could be. And that's certainly, great to see people that, you know, and all our people have started as retail assistants that are in our senior roles. So, you know, it's sort of very, exciting and humbling to see that we've had these people who we've been able to coach and get them to a point that they are today, which is, you know, a different person to who started with us. So that certainly inspires me. And then, you know, just even our customers inspire me sometimes. I mean, the amazing parties we get to see, and the way people celebrate and have fun. I mean, that's always sort of inspirational to see how people just celebrate life. And, you know, I think that always, reminds you, you know, I mean, a lot of businesses fail to they always talk about, oh, we don't celebrate enough. We don't celebrate enough. Well, I'm lucky. I'm in an industry where people are always celebrating, and we get to see it, and it reminds us that we too need to celebrate the things that we do and the wins we have. So, yeah, lots of areas of inspiration.
Yeah, it sounds like you learn so much every day in the work that you do. And I really loved what you said about celebrating life. And I think that's so important that no matter what you're doing, every day that you do have those opportunities. And especially when it's a part of the work you do, that must be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's good fun.
That's awesome. And I just wanted to ask you, so I'm pretty sure everyone in life has, whether it's the support they give themselves or cheerleaders and support around them who sort of build them up and help them to become who they are today. Who would you say has been your biggest supporter?
Oh, definitely my parents. My mum started the business, and my dad looked after us on weekends and stuff like that. I mean, my dad and even my parents. I mean, I've been playing sport competitively for years, and they were always there at the games. If my mum couldn't make it, she had to work. She'd always make the important games at least. Even into my 30s, I'd be playing OzTag, and even then, we'd make the semi-final. Just at the local tournament, and my parents and extended family would all be there. And it's funny, at that age, not many people turn up to the games to watch, and yet I'd have 20 people there supporting me. So my family's always been my biggest, I guess, cheerleaders, and they've always been there patting us on the back. And look, as an owner of a business, you don't get any pats on the back, but certainly having our family there saying, oh, you've done a good job is always, something that I've always had through my life, and I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, that's awesome. That would be so encouraging, having 20 people just for you turning up at a game. That's great.
Amazing. And it happened every single time. It wasn't just like once off. This year we made the semi-final. Like every time we made, a playoff or something, the family would be there. It's just, it's something that I don't know. It's probably a little bit unique to my family, but we're like that, and I feel like I'm like that with my kids as well. When my kids do something at daycare or something, I just want to make sure I'm there, because that's how my parents were with me. So I feel like it's something I want to do with them.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing, and I'm sure has taught you some really good values to bring for your family as well.
Yeah, I like to think so.
And I just wanted to sort of wrap it up and say thank you so much, Dean, for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I just have 3 things that I wanted to acknowledge you for that I have learned from our conversation and that our audience can take with them. And that is, first and foremost, what you were saying about going after what you want and that you'll find your path, your advice to your 14-year-old self, just to try different things and, be flexible. And also to plan ahead and just, stay as organized as you can in a way that's, working towards being successful. And it's okay to make mistakes within that, but, just sort of planning ahead as much as you can. And I really loved what you said about that happiness is the mastery of adversity. And I think we can all take away something from that. And as you said, as an example in cycling, to love the hills, because, life has its challenges, but if we can enjoy that journey, then it's so much more meaningful. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Yeah, thanks. That was a nice roundup.
Perfect. And if our audience wanted to connect with you after the interview today, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, look, if they want to check out what we do, they can always have a look at www.thepartypeople.com.au, and there's an about page on there, so you can also read a bit more about who we are and our history and the background of the company. And also if they want to shop for their party, of course. Obviously you can check me out on LinkedIn. I'm just Dean Salakis, no spaces, on LinkedIn, but look me up and obviously you'll find my title's actually the Chief Party Dude on there, so you'll find that. And we're on all the socials, so whether it's Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook, whatever, the Party People's got a presence on all of those. So just look for our logo and we'll be there.
Perfect. Well, be sure to check out some of Dean's work. He's had an amazing year last year. So if you want to, plan a party, that's a great place to go. And stay tuned for another episode of the Aspire Beyond Greatness podcast.
Thanks for having me, Anna.